Evening, ladies and gents. Welcome back to Lee Judges TV. I'm your host, Dan Potts. I'm with Lee Judges and Mark Partridge, and they are both eating. Apologies, people. We're going to have a lot of chomping today.
Sorry.
Lee Judges is eating celebrations. Mark Partridge is eating cheese and crackers. We are so professional on this channel. Hello to everyone in the chat room. Thanks for joining us. Hello to everybody listening on audio. Arsenal have won. Yet again, the run continues, the momentum is with us. But, as you can tell from this Boys Are Back episode, is it an international break or a loss of momentum? Mark, let's come straight to you because myself and Lee had a bit of a chat yesterday and it's always good to come to yourself first, mate. What did you make of yesterday? Another 1-0 win to the Arsenal. We can get used to this against the Watford side that, let's be honest, Mark, tried to kick us and beat us up and were quite dirty and filthy from Claudio Ranieri, something I did not expect. They're trying to break up play, in my opinion, every few minutes just by hacking us. But we got the job done. Probably should have been more than 1-0. But what were your thoughts of the game, sir?
Well, lots of thoughts. Good evening, everyone. Thanks for having me again. Firstly, isn't it refreshing to have not lost the game like that? You know, that's typically the games that we would have lost in the past, isn't it? But some serious intelligence in game management, some serious battling qualities. Playing to the whistle, giving as good as you get, all of the things we've not come to expect from an Arsenal team. So, 100 games for Mikel. I hear today that he's got a better win ratio percentage than the first 100 games when Wenger took over. So, that, whether that means anything or not, it's a fact. He's now got 18 months to win the double, which is what Arsene Wenger followed up his first 100 games with. So stats are lovely, trophies mean more. We're on the right track, aren't we?
It's looking that way, mate. We certainly improved. Lee, I'll bring you in on the point of yesterday. It was a great 3 points, but also the run that everyone's on about keeps going. And we're starting to see a little bit more of a physical Arsenal side that aren't getting beaten up that we have seen over the last few years. What did you make of yesterday's game, mate?
Yeah, it was an interesting game from that point of view. There was lots of things there, lots of questions that they posed, and we answered them. One of them being that they were very, very physical, but we stood up to that. We also, if you look at it, I thought they was a more experienced team, particularly in midfield with our young two guys in there, handled it. Defensively, when it was put on us, we handled it. So all those sort of things that we done today, or yesterday, should I say, it was a big, big test. And the ultimate one was that we didn't play. I didn't think we didn't play bad. I thought we played quite well yesterday. But the one thing that we didn't do was take our chances. At the final third, I thought we was poor, if I'll be honest. So what do you need then? You need to be defensively strong and give away no chances. We give away one chance when Ramsdale made a mistake. Other than that, they didn't create nothing really. It weren't like shots were raining on us. I don't think Ramsdale had a shot to save, if I'll be honest. A few crosses here and there. When they hit us on the break, we had players able to recover quickly and get behind the ball. I.e. Tavares, I thought was absolutely outstanding again at left back. I'm really, really impressed with him. He's powerful running and everything like that. But ultimately, what I'm seeing is partnerships now happening. Name me a better central defensive partnership than Gabriel and Ben White. I'll wait. I don't think there is. I think that, probably better central defenders, maybe like Van Dijk, but he hasn't really got a steady partner. Chelsea playing a 3. I don't really see that anyone better than them two at the moment. And I think that somebody said it yesterday, 23 and 24. I think that they are in age, no age for central defenders and everything like that. I don't think Tomiyasu is the greatest player going forward, Dan. But defensively, he is sound as a pound. Three or four times when they can hit us on the break with that diagonal ball across. So, like, if it goes over the fullback, the wide player then's got a chance to run on. It used to happen with Bellerin. Not saying it was Bellerin's fault. It's just that he wasn't big enough. But every time that diagonal ball went over there, he had to win those headers, and he did. He won every header duel in there, Tomiyasu, and he's I'm going to say this now, a bloody decent defender. And so all of a sudden now we've got defenders that want to defend, and do you know what? Love and behold, they can defend. And I don't know if I just, as it happens, I just had the highlights on just before I come on here. I was just watching it. Ben White made so many unbelievable interceptions yesterday and block tackles, when it was needed. The one I think in the first half was when I think Lokonga made the mistake and he gets a shot off. Ben White's there to get a block off, so Ramsdale don't make the save. All these little things are happening, and we're going well in that. I do think, though, and I'll still say this now, we've got to be looking to be more, decisive, more ruthless in our chances and our finishing. I thought that was woeful yesterday. I have to say we've got to improve on that. But I think we will eventually. I think that we may have to sign somebody else. But, I look at it today and Aubameyang didn't have one of his greatest games. He had an absolute mare, if let's be honest about it. Cost us another goal when Odegaard come on. But he's working hard. There was a time, Dan, we were sitting there criticising everything about his game. You know what I mean? But his work rate was really good yesterday. You can't fault that. And all in all, do you know what? Sometimes you have to get those scrappy, horrible 1-0 wins. And I thought it was an entertaining game, and we got there. We got the job done. And I don't know about you guys again, but I felt comfortable in our defending.
Yeah, and it's something I want to touch on. I'll stick with you, Lee, on this one, and I'll come to Mark about the midfield because I think that's to be talked about as well. But something me and you discussed, Lee, when we were outside after the game was who the man of the match was. And I went for Tomiyasu, you went for Ben White, and you kind of won me round, really, because I thought he was exceptional. But I think what it goes to show is Maitland-Niles actually did get man of the match, but it's quite nice, isn't it, Lee, when you've got a few players that are up for getting man of the match, and there's a few contenders for it. Obviously, Aubameyang, I thought, was quite poor, but that's the best game I've seen Saka play for a while. I thought he was dangerous on the ball. Smith-Rowe just keeps doing what he's doing. In the midfield, we're exceptional. But let's just stick to this defence for 1 minute, because you said something which is really, really key there. It didn't feel like they were going to score, and they have kept now quite a few clean sheets, and it's all the new signings. You've got Tavares, you've got Ben White, you've got Tomiyasu, you've got Ramsdale, and Gabriel. You said about partnerships. I actually think Gabriel's been our best player this season, but actually he's probably the best defender in the league right now, Gabriel. He's absolutely immense, absolute colossus of a defender. So talk to me about why you feel that is, Lee. Why do you think that has happened so quickly with new players that just seem to have gelled at the back there?
Well, I just think that first and foremost, they're good defenders. What I like about Gabriel, Ben White, Tavares, and Tomiyasu, they've all got pace. They're all quick. Their recovery runs are very, very good. So straight away, that means you can go up top, push on a little bit higher because they've got the recovery to get in and defend. They've also got power. Gabriel is a powerful defender, something that we've not had for a long while. I don't think we've had a central defender as good as him for a very, very long while. And what they've done is that they've worked hard, and I think that when you're comfortable and you know you're a good defender and you are not going to panic and things like that, it breeds all around. How many times in games when we was under the pump in the last few years, the ball gets kicked up from and it goes 20 foot up in the air instead of 20 foot into the stands and things like that. There's the panic stations. It was like Keystone Cops at the back there at some stages and all that. Professional footballers couldn't clear their lines. These guys clear their lines. They defend and they're comfortable in defending. And also, I don't care what anybody says. And if you're a forward, you get all the glory of the goals and all that. But if you make a last ditch tackle, and when you do that, you've got a goalkeeper coming up there and fist pumping you, and you've got the next defender out giving you large, you know what I mean? It encourages you to defend properly in the next time. So many times I've seen it, not enough pride in our defending from our players. not enough passion when when we concede a goal and acceptance to concede a goal. These guys are not going to have that. You know what I mean? You can see that clean sheets mean as much as them to the guys scoring goals. And do you know what? That's how it should be, and that's how it used to be at the Arsenal. And they're getting back to that sort of way. So I think from that point of view, the team has got a bit of character about it, a little bit of. I like it as well. Sometimes when we get fouled, they're all over the referee, aren't they? Like, moaning at the referee, like, chirping in his ear and all that. So I've seen horrendous tackles go by us, and we've been like, shaking the player's hand or patting him on the back and just saying, don't do it again, mate. I ain't having none of that no more. And I love that. I love that little bit of nastiness to your game. And I don't care what anybody says. That goal, he didn't go down. Yes, I love that when they didn't pass it back. Then they stuffed it in the back of the net with two of their players on the floor. They give it to them, and I love that. About time, because you know what? It happened to us. It happened to us at Tottenham. No one moans then, do they? No one groans when Granit Xhaka's out for 2 months and they carry on playing and scored a goal. Nothing wrong with their two players. They're back playing within 10 seconds. So don't ever, I don't want to hear nothing about that goal. Perfectly good goal. Don't knock the ball off. You know what I mean? He hadn't banged his head or anything like that. You know what I mean? That was where, that to me was Rosie in trouble in the corner of his goal. Like, what's the, I'll tell you what I'll do here. I'll knock it out and we get an easy throw and can go from there. Like, you know what I mean? Because he was pinned in. So they tried the easy option, like good little bit of professionalism from him, but we didn't fall for it. And I love that about us. There's a little bit, we're not as naive as we used to be. And I think Mikel mentioned that, like, and do you know what? For me, I love it because we're not getting bullied. We're not getting like pushed around no more. Like, we're not having no more of it, Dan.
And that's no, it's great to see. No, you're right. And it's great to see, mate, because Jamie Redknapp said yesterday, didn't he? This is not a nice Arsenal side anymore. And that is a compliment to me because we have 100%. Been for the last 10, 15 years. We've been this pretty footballing side that gets beaten up and pushed around and that are easy to beat if you want to come and play the way Stoke did on a Tuesday wet night. So I don't think that's that Arsenal anymore. Mark, I'll come to you on the points that have just been raised in terms of our solidarity at the back, the mentality and the intensity that we're showing in this team. But also, when I saw the team sheet yesterday, Mark, I looked at Thomas Partey's name on there, and I think everybody was a little bit deflated. But I thought Maitland-Niles was outstanding in the middle there with athleticism, and Lokonga with a forward pass, complementing each other yesterday, mate, in the midfield. You have to have a solid midfield, and obviously you have to have a back five that knows how to defend. And yesterday we seemed to have that. And although Watford weren't really pressing on us and giving us much to worry about, I thought our midfield and our defence complemented each other yesterday and all played excellent, mate.
Yeah, it was a bit of a shock to not see Partey on there yesterday. I thought his worries were behind him. Maybe it was a precautionary thing. Maybe it was a don't want him to go away. So we worry, don't we, about that? But as you quite rightly say, I just can't wait for Xhaka to come back. We miss him terribly. Doesn't seem to be the case, does it? Listen, Sambi and Tavares and Tomiyasu have got some Gabriel. We've got some real physical presence now, haven't we? Gabriel had a really good header from a set piece again yesterday, well saved by Ben Foster. It's worth mentioning 500 games for him, 37 years old. What a great player he's been in the Premier League, good goalkeeper. And he played really well yesterday, Good save from the pen. Uber probably shouldn't be taking our penalties anymore for me. He's missed 2 in a row. He was lucky with the rebound in the first one, but that's another debate. But
Lacazette, do you reckon, Mark? Lacazette for you? If he's on the pitch?
I think that I'll probably go down another route, to be perfectly honest with you. I'd probably start looking to the future and try, maybe Odegaard or, somebody else who's, maybe a Ben White or someone like that who's good at set pieces. Maybe Saka. He's a good dead ball specialist. He seems to be stepping up. Just because he missed that one for England when it mattered, he obviously got something about him in training, in the way that England were preparing for penalties in that tournament. Saka must have something about him. Gareth Southgate didn't pick him because he thinks he's funny to have around the club or around the setup. He picked him because he thought he was one of the best 5 penalty takers in the country. Certainly in that squad. So maybe Saka for me going forward. But anyway, that's another debate. But yes, missed to not have Partey. But Sambi looks to be turning into a hell of a signing. £7 million. I mean, say what you like. £70 million is still a hell of a signing. To have got him for £7 million is unreal. I just like Lee's saying, and like you're saying, Jamie Redknapp. I mean, I don't really care too much about what Jamie Redknapp says. He don't know too much about the dark arts of football. Let's have it right. He was in the physio room more often than not. But physicality is a big part of modern day sports and top level football, and we are not a nice team to play anymore. And Watford tried their damnedest, and as I said at the beginning, we would have lost that game. We'd have been bullied out of that game for the last 10 years in a row, and they didn't get no change out of us yesterday. They didn't lay a glove on us, so I'm happy with that. I'm happy with how strong we look. As you said with Lee about man of the match, quite rightly, we could have gone through the squad and made a case for any one of them. Would have been Ben White maybe for me, with his intelligence, the way he played the game, read the game, managed the game. I think he's growing, and it helps, as you quite rightly say, he's playing against Gabriel, who's arguably the most consistent centre half in the country at the minute. I would like to just say, Ramsdale, we're very quick to sort of blow hot air and overhype players. He's a little disappointing for me yesterday. Ramsdale, he was okay. His distribution wasn't great. There's a few times when he tried to kick out of his hands and he caught the top of the ball and it went skywards, and he was cursing his own luck and it went to no man's land. And I wouldn't mind betting his distribution stats were poor yesterday. Made a few mistakes, gave the ball away, gave them some good chances on another day. I'd like to say that if they had anything about them going forward, we would have got punished. 85 minutes, it was a huge mistake. They should have scored. Josh King should have scored. They should have scored. So that was lucky. But then he, in the 84th minute, he makes that fantastic claw-in save. So you can't slate him too much. He's been fantastic and he's bedding himself in. But he was bang average yesterday, Ramsdale. So I think that's just worth mentioning. He's got to keep his consistency levels. And that's the key to this whole team. It's okay. We've played well. We've done well. We are doing well. But it is only November.
Yeah, you're right, mate. And I'll just stick with you 1 second, Mark, about Smith Rowe and Saka, because I do think that we have to praise Bukayo Saka when he plays well, because he hasn't done it, if I'm honest, this season. He hasn't been one of our better players. I thought he was really dangerous yesterday. I spoke to a couple of lads and they were a little bit like, I didn't think he was that great, Saka. I thought he was average. I didn't really see that he was that great. I thought he was good. I thought Smith Rowe were looking good.
He roasted Danny Rose yesterday. If ever there was a clearer indication of a man who's over the hill, that was yesterday. The changing of the guard. You listen to TalkSport team. Pundits, ex-pundits. When was that moment when you knew it was time to give it up? I think Danny Rose realised that yesterday. His time at the top level is over, and I think Tottenham obviously see that coming. Watford took a chance on getting some leadership in their squad, which they needed, but he was absolutely roasted yesterday. I mean, how many times? 6, 7, 8 times. Saka just opened it up, knocked it past him, and opened his legs. He was gone. You're quite right. The future is very, very bright, and yes, what you will say, yes, Saka's been underwhelming or okay this season, but there are still other internationals, and I touched on it some weeks ago. There are some England internationals that are still suffering the hangover of the huge disappointment. You look at Luke Shaw, Harry Maguire. There's many other players.
Tyrone Mings didn't really play much, but he's been
Tyrone Mings got
dreadful,
dropped last week for Aston Villa, and I'm not being funny. They ain't got a plethora of centre halves to choose from. If he's getting left out of that team, how on earth he's got in the England squad over Ben White, I'll never know. But Gareth Southgate apparently doesn't have favourites, but we shall see. There are lots and lots of England players that are still suffering a hangover, and it's not uncommon, by the way. It does happen. Players take time to get back up to speed, to get back up to fitness after exhausting tournaments and the euphoria that we had. But Saka's done well. He's kept plugging away. And that, by the way, comes from a manager who believes in him, who's kept picking him, who's kept involved with him, and he's got minutes under his belt. And we have got a consistent team now, back five, settled midfield, and they've got the faith of the manager, and they're getting to know one another, and they're starting to gel as a team. I wouldn't mind betting we're probably, I don't know this for a fact, and I'll probably get shot down, we'll probably use the lesser end of the amount of players you can in our starting 11 changes in the league, I would imagine. We don't seem to change too often unless it's necessary through injury or whatnot.
Yeah, no, fair points, Mark. I'm 100% with you. And something that was noticeable for me yesterday was, I spoke to Graham about this, and he picked it up in his AFTV thing actually as well with James. They were talking about our right-hand side, the connection between Tomiyasu and Saka, but also Lacazette forming that triangle in that right-hand side. And I thought that was where they actually went, Arsenal. And I was really worried about Ismail Sarr towards Tavares. I thought the minute Tavares picked up and started to be attacking, Sarr would get in behind him. That just didn't happen, and it wasn't the case because we were just playing so well and we retained possession so well. But Lee, I'll come to you on Saka and Smith Rowe, because we've seen now Smith Rowe's got the nod to go into the England side, which for me is a good thing because it means he's not going to play 90 minutes every time for the under-21s. He's probably only going to play a handful of minutes now if he's lucky in the first team, and he should be in there on merit in my opinion. Saka's the other way around, like Mark said. He's not had the best of times. He has got in there. He's played a hell of a lot of football, and maybe he has got a little bit, or has had a little bit of a hangover from the England tournament. But I thought he was exceptional yesterday and really was working hard. A couple of final balls let him down. I think he's got to work on his end product and his final ball, but he is still only 19 or 20 years old. But Saka and Smith Rowe, we're really lucky to have these lads, Lee, at the moment.
Yeah, listen, I think with Saka, I thought he was dangerous yesterday. I don't think he's at his best at this moment in time, but his best is, was exceptional last season. And I think that
agreed.
What I believe in with Saka is that a lot last season we relied on him too much. Now it's being shared out a little bit, so I don't see that as a negative. You don't have to be on the ball all the time. He isn't the go-to guy all the time, which is realistically, Dan, it's just what we wanted. This is what we said we needed from a 20-year-old. You don't really want him to be the one we rely on all the time, and Smith Rowe's taken that burden away from him. The one thing that Smith Rowe brings to his game, which is better than Saka's, is his finishes. He scores goals. We've needed that. We needed someone to provide goals from midfield, because if we haven't, we're struggling, because Laka's not getting goals. Aubameyang's missing too many chances. So someone's got to step up from the plate, and it happens to be him at this moment in time. He is that sort of player that's going to get into more goal-scoring positions, and that's something that Saka actually has got to improve on, his finishing and final ball. But ultimately, I'm with Mark on this. He gave Danny Rose a torrid time yesterday. There was one time when he cut inside and went outside of him. Danny Rose didn't know what to do. Do you know what I mean? He just absolutely, he
just took it out on Lacazette's face, didn't he?
Yeah. I think he was just getting, in the first half, it was, I think in the first half, he was sort of toying with him, I felt like, but in the second half, he sort of, all right, I'm going to go at him, particularly give him a little bit of a hard lesson and all that. To be fair, Danny Rose stuck with the task, but ultimately, I always felt that Saka, we was always ready to attack down that side and look very, very good. And I have to say, with Smith Rowe on the other side, he's doing really, really well. From that, deserves his England call up, and I'm going to agree with Mark here. I think that if I was a bit annoyed that he wasn't called up, because he would have played 2 games for the under-21s, which I didn't want him to do. Now he's going to go into the squad. He'll probably get 10, 15 minutes in both games. And I think that's a reward for him playing as really well. There's no one playing better than him at the moment. When I look at the England squad, I have to say, Jack Grealish as we all know how much I like him and that, but he's not been performing great for Manchester City. I don't even think I think he was left out of the weekend for the Manchester derby. Sterling's hardly played. Mason Mount, I don't think has hit the ground running this season, even though now he's picked up an injury. So when you really look at it, Harry Kane, well, if the only reason that he's there is he's captain, because if you're going on current form, I don't know. Malcolm McDonald will get into the team if it's just a ridiculous call. And I think the reason that he's going to get in is because there's a couple of players injured in Calvin Lewin, and otherwise I don't think that he deserves to be there. So there's really Rashford should never have ever been called into the team. He ain't been fit and all that. They calls him in and then he says, "Oh, I'm pulling out and I'm going." And let's just have another little think about this. We're allowing Mason Greenwood to stay, and rest up and all. What's all that about?
I don't get that at all.
What is all that about? We had a chat with his family. Oh, so you can rest and all that. Well, can you have a chat with Saka's family and give him a rest then for a month away from it and all that? One rule for one rule for the other. So Smith Rowe deserves to be in there on merit. And I'll tell you what he's going to do. He's going to go in there and he's going to impress because he's a good player. And I'll tell you what, shake a few of those players that think that their position's solid. As we go to the back, Ben White was in the international squad at the beginning of the season. Now, in the Euros, yeah. Just like all these other players, I'll give him a chance. He was in the squad, get into Europe, give him a chance. Since he's played at Arsenal, right, he's been left out of the squad every single time. Tyrone Mings has been absolutely awful for Aston Villa. That is why they're plummeting down the league and just lost their manager. Not saying he's not a good player, because he certainly is. Harry Maguire. Would you have Harry Maguire in your Arsenal team at this moment?
No,
he wouldn't get in the women's team after what I see last night. Something like with their two central defenders, he wouldn't get in that. But there he is in the England squad. And then you get Ben White, who didn't start off great in the first game, so I can allow that. But the last few games has been playing really, really, really well. And all of a sudden, I thought he would have been in the squad, particularly when I look at the players that are in there. Stones, yeah, I think that doesn't play that much for Manchester City. Played at the weekend because they had a suspension, but he did come in for those England games and play well. But that's a up to the debate of what happens there. But for me, Ben White should be in there. Certainly, we know Ramsdale will be, but whether he get a game or not, I don't know. I think he's got a difficult one there because, obviously, like Pickford goes round once a week round Gareth Southgate's house and Moses Lawn and everything like that. So keep the place. So, and I'm sure Ramsdale's not going to do that. Connor Cody, another one, Ben's just brought up there. Come on. No,
I'm with you. I'm totally with you, mate. And, for me, Ramsdale needs to be the number one because he's the best goalkeeper in England at the moment. Ben White certainly is the best centre-half in England at the moment, and they should be playing. But do you know what, Lee? If they ain't, it means they're fit for Arsenal. They ain't going to get in.
Yeah, I don't care. I said that. Have a nice rest, Benjamin.
Yeah, absolutely. Mark, let's quickly touch on Smith Rowe before we do move on, because I feel like we need a midfielder that's going to score goals. We haven't had one since probably Aaron Ramsey of the last few years. Smith Rowe's already got, I think, 5 goals now and a few assists, so it's looking like he could be our next kind of Aaron Ramsey figure that's going to score some goals. So for me, he's a player we need to kind of protect and allow to develop. I do love him. I do think he should be in England's side, and I do want him to be everything that I think he can be. But is he going to be one of our most important players moving forward now, do you think, Smith Rowe?
Yeah, I mean, he's certainly growing, isn't he? I think we've got to be careful, haven't we? Personally, I would like the board to recognise that we have an ageing front line and act in January, if not the summer, and go out and buy a talisman, a 20, 25, 30 goal a season striker, because I am starting to have some creaking doubts about Uber's longevity, desire in the game. There's no doubting his natural ability and his enthusiasm for life and the game. But as we all know, certainly someone of myself, maybe not yourself, Dan, but Lee will certainly tell you that your mind still thinks you're young, but your body doesn't allow you to be where you once wanted to be. And I you be careful with them sweets, Lee. I don't want to see no teeth falling out live on there. It's a difficult one, isn't it? And with Laka, I can understand Laka not signing a new deal, because he must be looking across the way at his mate on 350 grand a week and thinking, what do you do? I don't. So why are you going to be on that? Then I ain't. But to answer your question, the future with Saka and Smith Rowe and Martin Odegaard, I'd like to put that in there, because it didn't go unnoticed to me when Odegaard come on at the weekend. The first person he ran to, maybe by chance, coincidence, what have you, the first person he encountered on the pitch was Emile Smith Rowe, and they high-fived one at each other as he was upping him into the game, welcoming him onto the pitch. So whether you have this idea that one can't play with the other, or one's pushing the other to an area of the pitch that they are less effective or what have you, they seem to be, from what I see, they seem to be happy playing together. And he might not be from Highland, but he is a young lad with huge amounts of talent. And with Saka, Smith Rowe and Odegaard, the future is bright. And you can include in that also Tavares, Sambi, Tomiyasu. There is other players that are what in the world was that?
Skegness Dave mucking around yet again. Go on, Mark.
So there is. I thought he was going at Santa to eat. And he got a dessert to go and eat. So yeah, I mean, it is. The future is exciting, isn't it? With Emile Smith Rowe. Someone said that he reminded of Paul Merson, like a younger version of Paul Merson. I kind of get that, the way he runs. And one of the pundits said the other day, there's no one better at running with a ball than Smith Rowe when the ball's at his feet. He's a fantastically exciting player, and we get on the edge of our seat, don't we? When we see him with the ball, and the same with Saka. And he makes me happy again to be an Arsenal fan watching these two young lads come through, and that's what we want. But I just wish, and obviously we're trying to upgrade the team and keep revolutionising the team, and I'm looking up top now, and I think if Laka doesn't commit, that's our next evolution of position is this front line, isn't it?
I think so, and the rumours are we're going in for Vlahovic in January. Please, Lord, get this guy. He is unbelievably good. Let him have Torreira. He's already at Fiorentina. Torreira. You can have Torreira and whatever money you want. Vlahovic is the next king, mate. I tell you that, mate. He is absolutely
as long as your source don't tell us it's over the line, Dan, it'll be a done deal.
Yeah, no, I'm not talking to him anymore. if we get that Vlahovic, I tell you this now. If we get this Vlahovic, he is going to be absolutely amazing. 21 goals in 38 games last season for Fiorentina. 12 games played this season. 9 goals, I think it is now. He is exceptional. 22 years old. Giroud, who can run and pace and can score goals, mate. That is what he is. Absolutely.
Yeah, we need someone to start putting the pressure on Uber. You know what I mean? So he's strutting around like he's the man that can't be touched. And in any squad, as we've seen with the left back situation, Tierney's sitting on the bench yesterday. That is healthy. That is a healthy squad.
It's competition for places, but we know you want Tierney and Tavares in every single position, don't you? I think when we get to the summer, we're going to need to replace Leno. He ain't going to want to sit on the bench. We're going to need a backup right back that's better than Cedric. We're going to need Saliba to come in to replace Callum Chambers. We're definitely going to need to get somebody in next to Thomas Partey so that Lokonga and Maitland-Niles as a backup to replace El Neni, and we don't want Xhaka back in the side. And we're going to need a centre forward, in my opinion. The other player I think we need to look at long term is Pepe, because he's got 2 years left. Do we sell him? Do we give him a long long-term contract. What do we do there? So we might need another winger if he was to go. But actually, when you look at things, we're looking pretty healthy in some positions now. We definitely improved the squad. Some said it might not have improved the first 11. Actually, it looks like it has improved the first 11, and it certainly has improved the squad moving forward. Let's move on quickly because I just want to bring this super chat.
Can I just ask a question?
Oh,
just
go on, Lee.
Just want to ask a question. Do you feel Aubameyang was wrong to go for that chance on Odegaard yesterday, or do you think
100%, absolutely shocking? I would have literally. He must have got torn a new one in the dressing room afterwards. Greedy mofo.
I think it's a little bit of instinct though. Sometimes I think it's a little bit of like, he knew straight away, didn't he? It was a wrong decision, and he knows it was. It weren't like, oh well, that's what I do. I think he went for it and thought, oh, what did I do that for? Because it was going in, 100%. It was going in. So,
just ask the people in the chat as well, just either yes or no, people in the chat, was Odegaard, was Aubameyang right or wrong? I'm 50-50. I don't really know, if I'll be honest, what to think of it. You know, greedy strikers, that's what there's part of it, the instinct of a striker. But Odegaard,
you've got to know where you are, though.
It was going in, wasn't it?
You've got to know where your positioning is. You know what I mean? You got to be aware of what's going on in the game. You know what I mean?
I felt a bit sorry for Odegaard because he's a player that I really want to see do well, and I just don't think he's getting goals or assists. Oh, it would have been. And Saka, actually. The two players that want to score goals are Saka and Odegaard. They both did. Both got ruled out. Unbelievable. Let's bring this in because it will move us on nicely. Tanya, thank you so much yet again, mate. Regular listener, regular super chatter. I was watching Dan's fan cam and he was spot on. Thank you very much, mate. We should have won most of our matchups. A real test will be grinding results in the next away games. Now, boys, let's move on to this. Lee, I'm going to come to you first, but I'm going to read out something which may shock you because I only found this out tonight from a good friend of the show, Graham Brooks. We have gone on a great run. We've won some fantastic football games. I'm just going to read out two names of managers that we have beaten. Sean Dyche, Brendan Rodgers. Two managers that are still in the job. I'm going to read out the names of the other four managers that we have beaten. We've only won the 6 games. All of them have been sacked. Daniel Farker, sacked. We beat Norwich 1-0. Nuno from Spurs, sacked. We beat him. Dean Smith from Villa, sacked. We beat him. And Ranieri now at Watford, what's his name, was sacked. Cisco, was it? Well, I can't remember his name now. Was it Cisco? So, the real tests are to come, lead judges. We've beaten the teams where all the managers have been sacked. Some would say you've got to beat the team in front of you, and I would agree with that term.
I love these agendas. I love it. Like, you know what I mean? So.
But is it? It's not an agenda. This is
no. How can someone even think about that? It's unbelievable.
I don't know. I was given the stat tonight from Graham, and I was like, wow, I didn't even think about that. But he's right. No. Everyone that we've beaten has been sacked. So they were all bad, sort of going on bad runs, basically. So that's the next thing that we've heard. But the real test is yet to come. We've got Liverpool at Anfield. We've got Manchester United at Old Trafford. We've obviously got Goodison Park as a tough place to go. And Newcastle at home as well. So is it fair to say that these are going to be completely different games, for one? And is it also fair to say that we will see what this Arsenal manager and Arsenal team can do against the so-called big boys? And let's be honest, Lee, although they're the so-called big boys, Everton aren't playing great, Man United aren't playing great, and Liverpool have proven that they're beatable. So can we go to those 3 places with this Arsenal side and be confident of picking up some points?
No, not really. And I'll be honest with you, because you're playing Liverpool away, which is a very, very difficult place. Man United, I don't care what anybody says, you're still away from home. And Everton's away from home. You know, you've got no divine right to go there and get results. And that's as simple as it. Away form is going to be... It's tough to get results. But what you can do is go in there, put in a very, very good defensive performance, defend well, ride your luck a little bit, like other teams have done. Goalkeeper's got to have a brilliant game. And you never know, you might be able to get something. And that's what you're going to do. What I want to see from these games is exactly that. Let's be in the game. And anything can happen if you're in the game. Let's just take Watford, for instance, yesterday. They was always in that game the whole way through, right? they rode their luck. Their goalkeepers had a fantastic game. They could have got a goal at the end, when Ramsdale they nicked a 1-1. And then you look at it and go, whoa, how disappointing we are. But hold on a minute, Watford, we've done well and get a point. That is what Arsenal have got to do in these games. Now, for me, let's take it in context. Liverpool, first of all. Liverpool just lost to West Ham, and they've just lost to Brighton. So the international break comes at a very, very good time for them. 5 points dropped in their last 2 games. That don't happen to Liverpool very often, right? So it would have been a nice time to take them on this week, if I'll be honest, with a little bit of nerves and everything like that. Gone to Anfield, Dan, too many times, being out of the game at half time. I don't want that. I want us to be in the game. Now, I'm not expecting us to win, but what I'm expecting us is to give it a good go. And do you know what? I'm feeling a little bit more optimistic that we can go there and get something. And that's what I want to see. I want to see us being in the game. Man United at this moment in time are not a good side. They're a team of fantastic individuals, and they're not a team. They're not a team. What I liked about Manchester City, and I watched that game from a technical point of view, is that they stifle. Pep's thing was, if Ronaldo hasn't got the ball, then he's not dangerous, and that's exactly what they've done. And we've got to go and do that. So we'll see about that one. Everton, let's face it, Everton are probably going to have Calvert-Lewin back in the team when we go up there. Yeah. All their players back. So it's going to be a tough game. All the years that I've gone to Everton, I think 3 times in all the 2, I think that we've had it easy. Or not say it easy, it's been comfortable. I remember winning up there 6-2 one time, 5-2 in another game. 2-0, I think, when Iwobi scored his first goal when he was coming. Other than that, it's a tough place to go. And we will find it very difficult. If Arsenal were to come away from those games, say, beating Everton, drawing with Man United, drawing with Liverpool, you'd have to turn around and say, coming in those games unbeaten, you'd have to say, wow, something is happening. But I'm not going to buy into this thing of like, oh, we've had 10 games, let's see what Mikel Arteta is going to do now. Because everybody said, oh, let's see what he can do after these 10 games. He's done what he's had to do. He's won games of football. These ones are different. These are ones that are tougher. But ultimately, we've got no divine right to go to Liverpool and say we're gonna win that game. And I'll tell you what, we've got no divine right to say that just because Brighton went there and got something. People turn around and go, well, yeah, but Brighton went there and got that. Brighton, Arsenal, what's the difference there? The name. So straight away, those Liverpool players are not going to take it as a, we've got Brighton today. When you've got Arsenal, they know if they turn up and we've got Arsenal today, they could get turned over. So they'll be up for the game. They'll be a little bit more up for it. If they're 2-0 up against us, they won't take the foot off the gas like they did against Brighton, and then Brighton got back into the game and could have won it. So I think it'd be a real tough game for us. But listen, I ain't fearing Liverpool as much because Arsenal have been playing well. But I watched that game yesterday, West Ham and all that. Like players running through 30 yards, going around 2 or 3 players into their, what I mean. Van Dijk cannot do it all on his own. So if we go there, defend really, really well, we've got players in this team that can hurt Liverpool. So I'm feeling optimistic that we can do well. Let's wait and see. But I'm not going to say, oh, right, if Mikel don't win those 3 games, and that's it, I'm back like winning him out. What I want to see is if we do lose one of those games, what's the reaction after it in the home game? And what it's like there. Listen, if he was to lose all those 3 games and 2 of the home games, everybody's going to be like one in his head. Dan, quite rightly so. He can't afford to go 5 games without a win or lose 5 games because other managers are getting a sack for that. Yeah. So it'd be interesting to see what he does. But for me, I think this is a good game. For me, I'm going to say it now. I said to you before the game, this game will tell me all I need to know about Mikel Arteta and this team. What happens? A year ago, we might have lost that game or drawn it, But this time we found a way to get through it. And do you know what? My mate Dan said a good point today. He said, if that goal would have been disallowed, he still felt that Arsenal would still go ahead and get would have got a goal. We felt confident. And I don't know about that, but I tend to agree at half time. I weren't panicking. I thought we would somehow get the job done. And so for me, that was the game yesterday, Watford. And I thought, I looked at it. He got the result. He got through that. And that was a big result because I've seen so many times, this is the chance for us to get the points and all that and blow it. He did not blow that on that performance. The players didn't. Without his first choice midfield pairing, if you be honest, both of them out. So for me, I'm happy with the way things are going at the moment. One, because Arsenal are winning games. Let's see what happens. Let's give it a go against Liverpool, see what happens.
Mark, I'll bring you in on the same point, mate. Obviously, it's a big test for the young players and the young manager, but I think they should be up to it in terms of the quality that we've got on the pitch. Certainly against Liverpool, I think we can dominate the midfield because Fabinho is class, but the rest of them are ageing in Henderson, Milner. Keita's never really hit the ground running. Oxlade-Chamberlain's been brought back in the side to try and give him something different of late and ahead of the likes of Thiago and the others. So certainly if Partey's fit, I think that we've got a great chance of doing well in the midfield there. And I think although Van Dijk's class, like Lee says, he can't do it on his own. There is Matip, who's a good defender, Joe Gomez, Kenyatte, but that's an area I think of weakness. So they have got weaknesses in the side. We've seen West Ham beat them, Brighton and Brentford take a point off of them. So going into Liverpool, that's going to be tough, but they are definitely beatable. Obviously, Manchester United, Mark, they're just absolute mess at the moment. Luke Shaw, Wan-Bissaka and Maguire. I've never seen three clowns at the back so much in my life of the last couple of games. De Gea looks like a good shot stopper, but the modern game has caught up with him, and I don't think he's got an all-round world beater anymore. They've certainly got a midfield that's really weak in Fred and McTominay, and they've got players like Lee says in Cavani, Ronaldo and Bruno that are quite happy to stay up there but not really interested in coming back. Everton, not really the best of games of the late, but they will have players back and they have got a great manager in Rafa Benitez. So it's going to be three hard places to go against three tough teams. How do you see it going, Mark, and how big a test is it for these lads?
Well, the Premier League's tough. We all know that. They should be relishing the opportunity. Young footballers, it's just 11 men with 2 arms, 2 legs playing a game of football against each other. So they go to Anfield, and as everyone's quite rightly saying, we're looking for performance and we're looking for a bit of pride. If you're going to win the league, if you're going to be successful in this league, you don't get beat away from home. So you go to the big clubs, you go to the big sides, and you get out of there by hook or by crook, whichever which way you can, with something, whether it's a smash and grab or whether it's a fluke or a dodgy penalty. You don't base too much on what happens away from home, or you just fight, get what you can, and if we can get. Difficult thing because obviously the Newcastle game's sandwiched in between there. So we're talking about Liverpool, Newcastle, Everton and Man United, whichever way around that is. And the 12 points there. So you say at the beginning of it, in an ideal world, what do you want from 12 points? Well, you want 12, don't you? Are we going to get 12 points from those 4 games? Probably not. Realistically, would you accept 4? No, because you're hoping to beat Newcastle. So what you're hoping to do is get 3 against Everton then, are you? So then all of a sudden you've got 6. So if you can then nick a draw against Man United or Liverpool, you've got 7 points out of 12. And I think realistically, with good fighting performances and not getting battered in the one that we lose, I think we would all accept 7 out of those 12 points, wouldn't we, realistically?
I mean, I've got to be honest with you.
And it's achievable.
Our people... Yeah, exactly that. And that's what I was going to say. I only go on how people are playing now. And the way I see it is Arsenal are playing... The way that Arsenal are playing, I can accept a loss to Liverpool because of the way teams are playing around us, but I can't accept losing to Newcastle, Everton or Man United at the moment.
No.
Now, it could happen. And
you could draw those 3 games down. You could lose. You could draw those 3 games, and you could lose to. So you could end up out of 12 points. You could end up with 3. Are we going to start throwing our toys out the pram if that happens? Don't know. We're not going to be happy, are we?
Yeah, I mean, I must say that personally, we are in a position, and I know Lee agrees with this. and he touched on it, where Manchester United are very, very beatable. Everton are very, very beatable. Even though they've got some players back, they're not going to be 100% fit. They're very beatable. Newcastle at home, that's a must-win game, in my opinion. So
Just got a new manager,
Liverpool.
Typically, Newcastle
Just got
a new manager. Typically, once again, as the Arsenal roll into town, we're talking about a club who've just been... we've said on there, we've just sacked a manager, and then you get that bounce effect of having a new man. How often does that happen to us? We've gone to a team that have been getting battered from pillar to post. We rock into town, they've got a new manager, and they're all trying to please him. It does happen in football.
It does happen, mate, and they get that lift with a new manager, and I think Eddie Howe will give him a lift, because not only have they got a new manager, they've got a manager that can spend a lot of money in January, and I think will keep them up because of that. So that for me is massive. Guys, we've got like 10 minutes. I just want to touch on the Josh Cronky interview. I don't know if you've both seen it. I haven't seen it in full, but I've only seen basically the main bits of what's been said. Lee, I'll come to you first. I listened to Jamie Carragher yesterday after it, and I thought he was spot on with what he was saying. He heard a businessman talking about visions, talking about strategies. What he didn't hear was somebody who wants to win the league. It was somebody, and I think what he quoted was, "We'd like to get us back to where we were, which is in the Champions League places." And Jamie Carragher quite rightly said, so they don't want to compete for the Champions League or the league title then. They just want to get into the top four. Now, I haven't listened to the whole thing, but I know somebody who has, and he said Josh Cronky did actually say that we do want to get back to winning titles later on down the line. But the only bit that they showed on the Sky Sports bit yesterday was talking about getting in and competing into the top four. The other thing that I took from it that Jamie Redknapp said, which I thought was spot on, and I don't always agree with him, was the best thing that could have happened was the European Super League failing for the protest from the European Super League and Daniel Weck making a bid. Because whether or not you think that's woke the Cronkies up, what it has done is made them react. He's starting to go to games, Josh. He's now coming out in 2 or 3 interviews that he's done. Whether you think that's PR or not, he's never done it before. He's now come out and said we've only owned the club for 2 years or 3 years. It's been now since 2018, although they've been a part of it since between 2008 and 2010. I actually do feel like something has happened, whether you like it or not, to make them react. They've spent 150 million in the January. They've supported Mikel Arteta with every single player that he wants financially. He's got much more support than Unai Emery ever got in his tenure at Arsenal. He's got the players that he wants, and there's rumours that we're going to go in for Vlahovic, which is around 50 to 80 million pounds in January for the striker that, let's face it, will replace Lacazette for the summer. So something is definitely happening in terms of a change. Josh Cronky, I believe, has been given this project of Arsenal by Stan Kroenke. He's looked at Vinay being young, Edu being young, Arteta being young. He's made it clear that he's got a young squad and a young manager, the coaching staff also. So when I look at the project, process, whatever the hell people want to call it, I just want to see progress. Now, if I see progress on the pitch, I'm a happy man. I've always been quite pro what they're doing off the pitch, and I've said that many times with Arteta and Edu, with the players I think they've brought in. But do you think the ownership may react now when we may see some backing, not just financially, but ambition-wise, Lee?
Well, time will tell. I think that, when you look back at this transfer window, you can't criticise the Cronkies at all. They spent their money, put their money where their mouth is. He actually did say, I haven't seen all the interview, but what I see of it, he did say that he wants to be winning titles, and that is the aim, to start winning titles and challenging for titles. I don't think he can say any more than that. We want to be challenging for titles and trying to win the biggest trophies. How he's going to do that is 2 ways. The route that we're going down with the financial backing that they're getting, and that's what do. We've got some very, very good youngsters, and so it will depend if we can get the players. Now, for me, there was a statement in the summer. Ramsdale, great goalkeeper, what we're seeing, but was overpaid as what on the transfer fee. Paid it. Ben White, fantastic defender, probably overpaid on the transfer fee. Paid it. So I do see a change. He's come out and said things, and I agree with that. They've got the fans on board on a ball now. Whether you agree with those fans, look, listen, if they put another 10 fans on that ball and took those 10 that are off of it now, everybody would turn around and say that's not the right ones. You know what I mean? Whatever fans they put on that board, they ain't gonna get the whole. A whole fan base is going to agree with it, So I I even see that the people were saying, oh, there weren't no women on it, like, you know, and things like that. So there's always going to be criticisms of that. But the big thing for me is that they are listening to what the fans have got to say, whether they do or whatever. I'm happy with that. Now, they've also got a, I think, as you quite rightly said, because of the Super League and because of the Daniel Wexer, that, you know, what do you want? Why are you at this football club? That is the question that's being asked because of that. Because if you want to make money on it, you sell it to Daniel Weck, and if you want to be after the Super League, you're not going to be in the Super League. No, there's not going to be the money train in the Super League. So are you here to win trophies and ambition? And I think that by sticking around, they are, Dan. So listen, I can see why everybody's a little bit what's the word, nervous about it and all that, like. But I think you've got to just, at this moment in time, I'd say it's a big plus what happened in the summer. I think that, they put their money where their mouths are. We spent them more than anybody else. If we was to do that again a little bit in January and then a big transfer in the summer, I don't think you can be looking at the Cronkies if things are not going wrong, not going right. Sorry.
Yeah, Mark, I'll bring you in on that point because I don't know if you saw the interview and what your thoughts are of the Cronkies in general. I think
I watched it today.
Really.
It's 24 minutes of it. I watched it was released on Sky today, extended, and I did watch it. They're a very commercial family. They're a very astute family. They're very aware that they own an asset. But what they have become aware off the back of the outrage of the Super League is that they have bought an institution. And he often refers to them as what we do is the Arsenal, the classy Arsenal, this institution, this great footballing heritage that is our club. And they have listened, whether you like it or not, they have listened. And you're quite right, Dan, in what you say, that this Super League, if for no other reason than the fact that it's awoken the American and Saudi owners to the fact that they may own this football club, but it's not like a shop. It is a part of our culture, a part of our communities, and it is a part of our families and our lives. So I think it is the right thing. I would say that I agreed with a lot of what he said when he said they had a choice to make. Was it to watch a European Super League be created? What was worse, to watch a European Super League be created, or to be a part of creating a European Super League? And I said to you guys at the time, I would rather be in it than watching it. Whether it was right or wrong, if it was going to happen, you would rather be in it. Now, we all know it was the wrong thing to do, but I understand why they had to make a snap decision overnight. Are you in or you out? And all of those clubs made the wrong decision. So he's accepted that, and he's taken the fans forum on board, and they're meeting with the fans like they did last Thursday, and they're listening, and they have backed our manager in this window. And what I like, I mean, you can pick the bones out of what somebody says when he's been put on the spot in a one-to-one boardroom interview with a very, very experienced journalist like Jeff Shreves. He's pushing questions. I mean, he pushed him. You say you support Arsenal. Did you even ever play football? Yes, I played football. What position did you play? Played right wing. Who was your inspiration as a right winger? He can't name one. He's not that much of a football diehard. He's an American kid from a wealthy background who's grown up with American sports. He's a very tall lad, and he admitted that basketball was his game. But Jeff pushed him to an uncomfortable position to name basically one winger, and he couldn't do it because he's not a football fan like we are. He's an American who's grown up in a billionaire family. And his family are very aware, like you and I are, or anybody is, that owns an asset. Let's say a house. let's say a flat next to the Emirates Stadium. Okay, you might have bought it 5 years ago for, let's say, 500 grand, and now today it might be worth 750 grand. And you might be thinking that's profit. That's where we're at. But you know, if you give it a lick of paint, if you put a new kitchen and a new bathroom in it, and you hang on to it for the next 10 years, it's going to be worth £1.2 million. The Cronkies do not need to sell. They know that if they are ever in a position to sell, and it's 10 years down the line, they will get double what they've got today, because Amazon are about to go big into the world of sports media. You know, the money, the figures are only ever going to go up in this. You know, and Arsenal is a global brand, so they know if they buy us a new kitchen and bathroom, i.e. a centre forward and a new central attacking midfielder, then our value, if we get into the Champions League, will be more. So they're not silly, and you can only judge them on what they do. And what they've done in the last year has been positive. And the last thing I will say is that we cannot compete. There are very few teams that can compete with the Emiratis and the Saudis. They are billionaires nonetheless, and they are signing players with a demographic of being young, growing, hungry, building a togetherness, and I like it. And if we win something, it will mean far more to me doing it this way than what it will do if Newcastle win the league, if they do it their way, which is probably the Man City way. I'll be more proud of Arsenal if it takes 10 years or 5 years for this team to win something, a league. I'll be proud of them.
Well, I think you're right there, Mark, and I think what you've said there is basically what Liverpool did with Klopp. It took them 5 years. They did it the right way. They did spend money, just like Arsenal have, but they had the ambition to go to the top, and that's where my question mark has been with the Cronkies. Not the fact they ain't spent money. They've spent a lot of money. Trust me, they have. But look at what we've spent it on, and they've sometimes allowed people to spend this money on absolute trash, and they've not got rid of them because I don't think they care. And the lack of ambition to get back to the top has been a real question mark for me. Now, if he's coming out and saying he wants to win titles and he proves that this is the new regime that he wants to do it with, then that's fine. I just think that I've kind of accepted now that we are going down a route with this ownership, whether you want them in or out, they're going down the young route, and it's going to take time, and that's going to come with inconsistencies now in performances. So I think they've stuck with Arteta. They're going to stick with him throughout this season now. If we start losing games, we've already seen he's not going to get sacked, because he would have got sacked last season when we got dumped out to Villarreal. So I'm starting to come round to that now that that's the way that we're going down. Whether you like it or not, I'm not a big fan of it. I'd rather us go and get something now. I think we've been waiting long enough. Liverpool waited 30 years. I think like we're actually going to be in that situation now as well, of coming towards 30 years before we see Arsenal win the league again. Unfortunately, it might even be longer. But under this ownership, I just want to see the ambition to get us back to the top and demand only one thing, and that is the best for Arsenal Football Club. Guys, it's been really good. It's gone so quickly, over an hour now already. It really has, but it's been absolutely superb. Really, really enjoyed that. Tomorrow night at 10 o'clock, we've got Mike doing the Arsenal Soup, so please make sure you join in for that. Get yourself over to Highbury Squad right now, because Sophie is over there chatting away, so that will be all good. If you can like this video and subscribe, that would be amazing. And if you could head over to Sally's artwork and order yourself a personalised Arsenal shirt to hang on your wall, then that would be fantastic.
The perfect gift for Christmas.
It really is the perfect gift for Christmas. Yeah. You're right, Mark Partridge.
Yeah.
I want to thank both of you, everybody in the chat, for watching. Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Lee. I'll see you both very soon. I think on Thursday night, myself and Lee are going to see if Kevin's about to do another chatting with Campbell about how things have gone this last month going into an international break. But until then, guys, we will see you all next time.